So Glitch recently held a direct showing off some of their upcoming work, including the release dates of episodes 7 and 8 of the Amazing Digital Circus. And ever since I binged the first 6 episodes, I've fallen in love with the character designs and the arcs that each of these characters go through, and have been wanting to translate these characters into My Singing Monsters for a long time now. So hey, how's it going? In this video, I will be turning the Amazing Digital Circus into a My Singing Monsters island. I've turned 5 characters into monsters, and I've also made an island design and song. So if you would like to see the rest of the Digital Circus gang be turned into monsters, drop a like on the video and comment down below. Thank you to all of my patrons for supporting me and this channel. You can find my Patreon and merch links in the description. And let's begin by creating the Amazing Digital Circus's island design, shall we? Just like with the Secret of the Mimic series that I previously did, I think it's sensible to start off by making the island design. I gathered some reference images from inside the Digital Circus tent and began making a background. Usually island backgrounds consist of a simple sky, but the Digital Circus is full of so much detail, and so bringing some of these details editing over here. Did you guys hear that? I'll replay it. And so bringing some of these details over into the island background should really help it to feel like the island takes place inside of the tent. I then created some of the staircases that you can see, as well as tall towers of these soft place cubes. I honestly think it would have been easier to 3D model this staircase and apply textures to it, rather than sitting here drawing each step, but I do think it turned out pretty good in the end. I then added some balconies and doorways to the background to make it look a bit more cylindrical, like the typical circus tent. And now I can move on to the island itself. Just like with my monsters, I started off by sketching out where things will be. There are so many details from the tent that I want to fit into this island design, so sketching everything out first makes it easier for me to move and adjust things if needed. To give the island a more interesting shape and silhouette, I added more of these soft cubes and arches. All of these blocks will be different colours too, really giving us that Digital Circus look. I also wanted to bring in the checkered floor from the show, which proved to be quite a challenge, with its high contrast between black and white. But I also can't lower the contrast too much as we would then lose the checkered look. But I do think the level of contrast and the size of the checkered grids looks okay in the end. I made the structure platforms match the pillars that stand next to them, and gave the castle platform this cool yellow and red pattern to match the walls of the circus. Just like with the Secret of the Mimic Island, this island will also not be living, as it's a recreation of the Digital Circus, the same way that the Mimic Island was a recreation of Edwin's costume manor. The edge of the island has more of these soft play pieces, but this time in a blue, red and yellow pattern. And as for the bottom of the island, I wanted it to match the yellow and red striped background of the circus, and then try to incorporate more details onto it, like these curtains. Let's check out the finished island design. The final product is very accurate to the concept design, albeit with some extra details added. We now have these rainbows across the bottom, as well as these shapes behind the island with skyboxes on them. I felt that the island could do with some more decoration, and so I added these extra details from the show, which I think makes the island design look even better. Overall, I think I did a good job translating the tent into an island design, and can't wait to see the characters on here. Speaking of characters, let's take a look at which character will become a monster first. Okay, it was obviously going to be Pomni. Pomni is pretty much the main character of the show and is who we follow throughout the first 6 episodes, and presumably the rest of the show. Not only do we get to learn more about the Digital Circus crew through the eyes of Pomni, but we're also learning more about Pomni as she goes through the journey of discovering her place in the circus. We are shown that Pomni is quite a timid and shy character, who has these moments of doubt and anxiousness. And so for a monster design, I tried to portray this shyness by having her clothing be more cloak-like, dragging across the floor, as well as making her cap much larger. Essentially having her hide and shy away into these larger pieces of clothing. Her face also has this sad puppy look to it with these large bulbous eyes. I didn't want her facial features to be sad, but to instead portray the moments Pomni has where she freezes up and freaks out. These are some of the most memorable scenes from the entire show. Onto the colours, which unsurprisingly consist of reds, blues and yellows. Pomni's design and colours have become so iconic at this point, and I really don't think there's any need to change that. The plain reds and blues on their clothing did look a little boring though, so I implemented some patterns. The blue segments are now striped, and the red areas have these yellow dots sprinkled around. Pomni's face also doesn't change all too much colour-wise, retaining the pale skin tones which help her face to stand out amongst the reds and blues. I also messed around with some noses and different hairstyles, but ultimately settled with no nose and these more simpler hair strands. Meet Pomibel, the timid monster. Caught frequently shying away from others, Pomibel likes to let their bells do all of the talking, using their bells' glowing capabilities to impress others in an attempt to break out of their hypothetical timid shell. Pomibels can be found hopping and dancing around throughout the circus, but one slip-up will have them retreating back into their former shy self. Pomibels take up a 2x2 grid space, and here is how they sound. Up next is everyone's favourite doll, Ragatha. For this monster design, I wanted to explore Ragatha's appearance and the vintage vibe that dolls can give off. Ragatha has this crazy hairdo made of yarn, and I decided to take that craziness one step further by turning some of their hair strands into large yarn legs that can hold them up. As we progress through the show, we can start to notice that Ragatha's optimism seems to be hiding some sort of deeper insecurity. And I feel like these large yarn legs look like they're forming a shell around the monster itself, almost the same way that Ragatha's optimism hides her true feelings. Exploring character traits like this and trying to translate them into monster designs was really fun, especially since these kinds of character traits and story arcs are not present in My Singing Monsters. It added a whole new level of depth to designing monsters that I found really enjoyable. As for Ragatha's sound, I went with a nice simple piano. There are these Amazing Digital Circus pins, and they each show off the room of their respective character. And in Ragatha's room is a piano, so it only felt right for our monster Ragatha to also play the piano. As for the colours, I once again stayed very close to the original character's colours, especially since there's so much different with this monster design already. We have the red yarn hair, the purple dress, and a very simple wooden coloured piano platform. Meet Ragdoll, the vintage monster. Inside this large red ball of yarn lies Ragdoll, an old-timey stuffed doll somehow brought to life. Not being an organic being like the rest of the crew comes with its downsides. Ragdoll drowns in insecurity over this, bottling up their emotions in hopes to fit in with the rest of the crew. One may attempt to learn more about Ragdoll, but they will not let their guard down. And by guard I mean the large red walls of yarn that surround them. Ragdoll would be 3x3 tiles in size, and let's check out their sounds. Zooble time. Now, this was an interesting monster to design, because out of the entire show, Zooble looks like the only character that could work as an MSM monster by just simply redrawing them in the MSM style. And so that's what I did. I spent a lot of the concepting process just adjusting the proportions of Zooble to look good as a monster, and eventually, I do think I got the sizes and proportions to look right. But in the meantime, I began working on their instrument parts. I wanted Zooble to create a variety of percussive and goofy sounds to match the vibe of their character. And so I gave them 2 drums, and I incorporated their box of parts into this design. And now I'm back to adjusting the sizes of parts again. The head needed to be much larger, as well as their hands. At this point, I was just hoping that this design would be easier to look at with some colour, and so I got on with colouring. I kept most of the colours accurate to Zooble, as this particular monster design is more of a style swap compared to the others. I also coloured Zooble's box accurately with reds, blues and yellows, and carried this colour scheme over to the drums too. And thankfully, I do think this design is easier to look at now since it has some colour to it. Meet Zulu, the toy monster. The name Zulu is a combination of Zooble and Zolo blocks, which are the toys that inspired Zooble. Zulu is known for being sassy when it comes to performing with the circus band, and was therefore given a box of parts to dig into, finding new items and parts to create a funky beat with. Some of Zulu's favourite parts consist of a rubber duck, a dodgeball, and a red ribbon. That last part doesn't actually contribute to any sound, but simply lies at the bottom of the box. Zulu would be another 3x3 sized monster, and here is how they sound.
Who's that digital circus character? It's Gummigoo.
I felt I had to throw in a little curveball this video. Since I'm making 5 monsters in this video, I've had to save some of the main crew for a possible part 2, if you guys want to see more that is. And so I couldn't resist the urge to turn Gummigoo into a monster. So here we are. I wanted to make Gummigoo quadrupedal, having them stand on all 4 legs like an actual crocodile. Of course, Gummigoo is based on a gummy crocodile, but even gummy crocodiles stand on 4 feet. This design was very funny to look at when I was trying to improve their proportions. Trying to balance the size of the head with the length of the body to look pleasing was quite a challenge. When we meet Gummigoo in episode 2, he is with Max and Chad undergoing a heist to steal syrup from the Candy Canyon Kingdom. So why don't we chuck some of this syrup onto the design? Literally, I put it all across the back. I was actually eating some Haribos when I was drawing this monster, so I thought it would be funny to include some and sprinkle them across the back. Just like the other monsters so far, the colours are quite recognisably the same as Gummigoo's actual colours, so not much is different there. But the syrup and the additional candy does add some very needed colour to an otherwise simple monster design. Meet Candy Croc, the bandit monster. Candy Croc's appearance has been known to spook others with their long crocodile-like snout and body, but I can assure you, Candy Croc is an absolute sweetheart, just like the heart on one of their spines. They have a real sweet tooth for sticking new candy they find onto their sticky syrup-covered back, and tips their hat at anyone who helps contribute to their hobby of collecting candy. Candy Croc would be 3x3 in size, and here is what they sound like.
Gummy gummy goo, gummy gummy yeah, gummy gummy goo, gummy yeah.
Jax is going to be the final monster for this video, and this was a really fun one to make. I started off by sketching Jax's face, which I intentionally kept very similar. I wanted to retain that iconic, cheeky but almost dead look on their face. This is another monster design that is on the more similar side of things, but in the end I think that really works out for this monster. Eventually I do go back to the limbs and body to make them look better and more slender. I decided to give this monster finger guns. This is because of episode 6, which had the Digital Circus cast face off with guns. It seemed like a really fun idea to try and carry over these themes into the monster design, but I obviously couldn't give the monster a physical gun, so finger guns really sounded like a fun alternative. I also got to make some really wacky facial expressions, but you'll have to wait to see them later. Now that I've improved how the body looks, we can move on to colouring. I made the monster version of Jax fluffier like a rabbit, and had the fur gradient from purple to red to represent the overalls that Jax wears. They also retain their bold yellow face as well as the yellow gloves, and I also decided to add some spikes into the fluffier parts of their legs. Meet Jackrabbit, the self-proclaimed funny monster. Jackrabbits may look friendly and fluffy on the outside, but the spikes protruding from their fur should act as a warning sign. This monster is a right prankster, rivaling that of Yehehe, even down to how they make their sounds. Jackrabbit's favourite prank is the use of finger guns to scare other monsters. They can somehow defy reality, producing a realistic muzzle flash at the end of their fingertips. The jackrabbit would never hurt anyone though. This trick is purely to give them a spook, right? Jackrabbit would be 2x2 in size, and for the final time, here is how they sound. Now that we have our 5 Amazing Digital Circus monsters, we can check out the full song. I did make this song with more monster sounds, but we'll have to wait to hear those in a potential part 2, so do let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that. And while you're down there, let me know which of the 5 monsters is your favourite. And with all of that said, thanks for watching and enjoy the full song.
Gummy goo, gummy gummy yeah, gummy gummy goo, gummy goo, gummy yeah. Gummy gummy goo, gummy gummy yeah, gummy gummy goo, gummy goo, gummy yeah. Gummy goo, gummy gummy yeah, gummy gummy goo, gummy goo, gummy yeah. Gummy gummy goo, gummy gummy yeah, gummy gummy goo, gummy goo, gummy yeah.